I have to start by telling you that I'm not very good at public speaking, and so I'll usually start to sweat. And so, like I have to tell my kids on the first day of school, if I start to sweat, don't panic, because I'm not going to pass out or collapse, just my nerves kicking in. And in fact, my one goal is to get through this without wetting my pants. I apologize to Mr. Smith here if I left the puddle. I'd like to start off by thanking everyone, my fellow elementary teachers and secondary teachers, administrators, and the board for allowing me the honor of being the Elementary Teacher of the Year. This is going to hit me in the nose. For 2009. It's a credit to know that I will be representing all of these great teachers for this fine district. And I'd like to take a moment to personally thank my family for their support. Having been the first in my family to go through college and through a master's program, it's been a wild ride, and I appreciate them being there for me. I'd also like to thank Mr. Montoy. And where's he at, by the way? I saw him in the hallway earlier. Mr. Montoy is my first grade teacher. So don't ask him how old he is. And as my first grade teacher, he planted in me the excitement and joy of learning at an early age. Being a male elementary teacher, he was the perfect model of who I wanted to pattern myself after when I became a teacher. And even though I was young and still had hair back then, the relationships he developed with his students will always be one of those memories that I have in my first grade year. And of course, a hearty thanks go out to my Huesner family, who for their continuous support, their encouragement, their high expectations, and generally just having to put up with me for the past 10 years. After Dr. Winter left my room in April, letting me know that I had been selected as the Teacher of the Year, it suddenly sank in that I would have to stand up and give this speech. And I must have had a worried look on my face as I went back to my desk, because a student came back and said, would you like some advice about your speech? And always willing to hear what a 10-year-old has to say, especially the one that told me. I said, sure, why not? What advice do you have? And he quietly put his arm around my shoulder and he said, Mr. B, whatever you do, do not sing. Lucky for you guys, Dr. Selby took care of that last week, so I'll spare your ears. And every year I sat out where you guys are thinking about what I would do if I were up here giving a speech, and I always had good ideas or thoughts that I thought would be pretty motivating for teachers in the classroom, and when it actually came time for me to give this speech, I drew a big old blank. I was reassured in July while working the Salvation Army football camp with Mr. Smith that he and I had made the exact same progress on our speech. 0. I wanted my speech to be some sort of a motivational story that was kind of personal to me. So I wanted to tell a story that's tied to me in some way. Now, usually when I tell the staff at Huesner that I have a story, they all kind of grab the side of their chair and go, oh boy, because they know it's something silly or something stupid that I've done or that happened to me. A few examples would be the time that I had to walk at about midnight back to the school. I only lived 4 houses away. So the time that I had to walk back to the school at midnight because I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I realized that my dog had just eaten the last roll of toilet paper. Or the time that I received a pumpkin from one of my students at Halloween and put it in my closet and forgot about it all year long. And I mean all year. That wasn't a very welcome sight to come back to in July or in August, when I opened the cabinet and the pumpkin had exploded and thrown up all over the cabinet and the floor and left off a nice smell. So, Chris, Michael, that's what that smell is in your room. It's not the 4th grade pheromones that I told you about. There was also the time that I could have been seen running down the hall at Huesner, yelling and screaming and waving a piece of fabric over my head because I was being chased back to my classroom by bats. They were big bats. And then finally, there was the time that I volunteered to be the attacker during Maureen Welchell's self-defense demonstration for the females of our staff. By the time I was done with that, I didn't know whether I was the attacker or the victim. So none of those stories are very motivating and actually kind of make me look silly in the end, which isn't very hard to do. So I've decided to share with you a story that I had the pleasure of hearing a couple of times each summer, and for those of you who hear it as well, I apologize. You can compare me to the original. But it's a story that I tell my students every year, and in fact, I have this item in my classroom with a big sign, and everybody always wonders when they come into my classroom what in the world that thing is doing in my room. And they always have a little joke to say about it. But the story comes from Coach Bob Murray, who is a director at the Heart of America basketball camp and is a high school history teacher at Bennington. Coach Murray always tells the campers about his friend from college, who several years ago he had met and was talking to him about his career as a professional drag boat racer. Now these boats can go up to about 250 miles an hour, and he goes on to tell Coach about a particular race that he had participated in the past summer on the Savannah River in Georgia. About halfway through this race, his boat catches a wave and starts to hydroplane across the water. This causes him to lose control of his boat, and he begins to spin wildly out of control, and the boat's flipping end over end before breaking into small pieces. Now in the middle of all this spinning, the racer ejects himself from his seat, which in turn shoots him straight down into the water, and in a split second shoots him in with such velocity that it knocks his helmet off and his glasses and disorients him a little bit. So in a state of panic, he begins to swim furiously, and then realizes once he gets his senses about it that he doesn't know in which direction he's swimming, and for all he knows, he could be swimming deeper into the lake. So Coach Murray asks him, "So what did you do?" And his friend simply looks at him and says, "Well, I was almost out of breath, so I stopped, and I listened to my life vest." Well, Coach Murray continues to question him and gives him a funny look, and he says, "What do you mean you stopped and you listened to your life vest?" His friend replies, "Well, I know that no matter how deep I'd gotten myself, my life vest would always lead me in the right direction. It pulled me up and allowed me to keep my head above water until I could make the right decision." You see, the nice thing about a life vest is that they don't discriminate, and they will always guide someone in the right direction. If this auditorium were to flood with water, heaven forbid, I was wishing, by the way, that the power would go out. And Mother Nature didn't hear me right, and she did the wrong day. If this auditorium were to flood, a life vest wouldn't say, "I'm sorry, you teach kindergarten, I'm only taking 4th graders today." It wouldn't say, "I'm sorry, you teach at South, today's Central's day." And most importantly, it wouldn't say, "I'm sorry, but you're reading on grade level, so I can't help you, I'm only here to help struggling readers." Gifted, below grade level, at risk, well-behaved, exemplary, approaching standards, boys, girls, it doesn't matter, life vests always help whoever needs it. And as teachers, we have the unique opportunity to be that life vest for our students and our colleagues. We have the chance to guide and lead them in the right direction, and at the very least, pull them up enough so that they can breathe on their own before letting them swim out on their own again. We need to be a life vest for our students as they progress through the school year, not only in our classrooms, but out of them as well. And building a relationship and trust with those students will go a long way in their eyes. It's also important for us to find our own life vests, those that we can turn to for help, and those that we can turn to for help and know that they can lead us in the right direction. For most of us, we have life vests in the different aspects of our lives. I have a set of life vests at home. I have a set of life vests at school. For my personal life vests are my family, my parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, brother. And while I'm at school, I have life vests too. While I know that I can rely on any of these fine people wearing blue and lays and a button, as one of my friends have a rodent problem in the building, that would probably be why. While I know that I can count on any of them to help me, Jody Daly, Connie Reedy, and Jamie Hoffmeyer are just 3 of my life vests. And I can count on them to lead me in the right direction, which unfortunately seems to happen more often than not. So as I finish today, I'm going to give you 2 tasks to take back to your classroom. And I know one more thing on your plate, which I'm sorry. But 1, I want you to find your life vest, both in your personal lives and also in your building or in other buildings around the district. And 2, and this is the phrase that I have pinned next to that big bright yellow life jacket that everybody always makes a comment on when they come to my room, be someone's life vest. So with that, I wish you all a great 2009-2010 year, and I thank you for this incredible honor. Have a great year.